So a brief introduction to ambient mesh is it's an mode or another mode for the Istio. The default Istio version is in the application. What happens? One more container is injected by the Istio, which is Annoy proxy or Istio proxy, we call it. So each and every application pod will have one more container. So ideally it will have two containers. There is one more container, but that is at the init time that is created, and that is its job is done, and then only two containers will be running. So that brings a cost as one more container to each every will have usage definitely. To reduce that one, we have ambient mesh and other things are also there that we'll be discussing in future session, what all the advantages it brings. But for how it works, so usually like we will be having like but here we are not having here. We will be having ztunnel. Ztunnel is demonstrated on each and every node, and that creates a secure channel for the communication between each and every node. And if we want to process anything extra like L7 layer processing, then we can deploy waypoint, similar to whatever we do with our same way we were doing earlier. So ztunnel works at level 3, layer 4. So it means the mTLS and all it is taken care at the ztunnel level. We need not to worry about that. So when okay, and like we don't need level 7 processing. That's why things are broken into two parts, ztunnel and the waypoint proxy. So if we don't need L7 processing for most of the services, we need not to deploy waypoint proxy at all for those services. We can bring the cost down. And maintaining multiple proxies, usually like if we are aware of ambient mesh and the default Istio mode, which is a sidecar version. So what happens in those cases, in a default mode, which is sidecar, in that case, each and every application will get its own sidecar proxy, okay, and it brings the cost high because it takes CPU and memory. So if you have thousands of microservices, each and every will get its own proxy, and definitely their memory and CPU, it will take that one. So that's where infra cost increases. But to bring the infra cost down, what happens in the ambient mesh, those proxies has been broken into two parts, L7 and L4 level. So L4 level is getting handled at the ztunnel level, which is a secure connection maintained between each and every node. So that makes sure the communication between one node to another node, it is secure, and that is done via ztunnel. And if we need L7 processing, then only we need to deploy waypoint proxy for only those services which needs that. So most of the cases, what happens, we even don't need L7 processing for the most of the services, but still we end up using with a sidecar, like even if you don't need it, but it is there, it's still lying there, and we are not using it. So in this case, in the ambient mesh case, now we have the liberty. If we need only, then you deploy, otherwise no need to deploy. Only like L4, like security layer, it's fine for that. So that's where it brings a infra cost to at a drastic low level. So that's where it reduces the cost of the infra, and it is having its own advantage as well that we'll be discussing in future sessions. But yeah, for now I'll be discussing that. So in the picture we can see like how if we are having two nodes, node 1 and node 2, and service A is running on one of the nodes, service C is running on another node, those go via ztunnel. And if we are having any waypoint, then that communication will be rerouted to waypoint, and then it will go to again ztunnel, and from there it will go to service, the another service which is lying on the another node. Okay. Now I'm going to the next slide. Okay, so now we will be seeing how to migrate or how to quickly adopt to ambient mesh. If we are using already the default version of Istio, which is sidecar version or sidecar mode. So what we can do, either we can completely test that ambient mesh, or we can try like one by one. We can introduce one services, or maybe one namespace at a time. So usually like it is recommended you test it, try it out in non-prod environment. Take only those services which are non-critical, like very low critical microservices. Then we implement sidecar-less, like you try to bring those services into the ambient mesh. Okay, we can have both together, sidecar and sidecar-less. So you bring that one together and then you remove the sidecar version, and then it will be part of the ambient mesh, and it will be working. So we'll be seeing like how both can coexist, and we can slowly migrate to ambient mesh version. Then test like after migrating to like implementing the ztunnel and all, you test it whether everything is working fine or not, security, all those things are achieved or not, and then slowly you can implement other, like if you need L7 level processing also, then you go ahead and implement for that specific service, otherwise not required, and repeat slowly for each and every like whichever services we want to migrate. Or if we want to have new services in the ambient mesh and old services in the still in the sidecar version, that's also fine. There are possibilities also we still might need the sidecar version for the few cases where we might need a granular control. We want to control something which is at the destination side, or we want to control something at the source side which is very specific to a specific service or a specific client. Though in those cases still we need a sidecar version, but most of the cases we can handle all those possibility with the sidecar-less version. So, so usually that is a typical picture of like how the microservices looks like when we have with Istio, default Istio sidecar version. So each and every, as I was discussing earlier, each and every microservice will have their own Istio proxy attached to it, and they talk with each other. Okay, so each and every microservice will get their own proxy, and then all communication go via like in and out via that proxy. So this is the typical example of whatever we see in Istio, default Istio mode. So with microservice sidecar and sidecar-less, what will happen if we are having microservices which are having still sidecar version? They look like this, still A and B, we can see, and the new services or the existing services which we migrated, that will look like, okay, it is having sidecar is not there, but the communication goes via ztunnel, so that still the communication is secure. We'll be seeing that one, like we'll verify if the communication is still secure or not when we migrate or when we introduce embed mesh. Okay, and this picture we already saw how usually like if everything is in sidecar-less, so it will look like none of the services will have Istio proxy attached to it. We'll have all the communication go via ztunnel, waypoint proxy if it is needed, then ztunnel, and then services. Okay, so this is a typical example. It is having complex scenarios and advantages its own, but that we are not touching today. So in demo today, we'll be installing default version of Istio, which is sidecar mode. Okay, then we'll deploy some services and then try to set up it and try to access it from the outside. After that, we'll try to upgrade it to ambient mesh version. We'll try to deploy few more services in the ambient mesh mode. And after that, we'll try to test the communication between those services still working or not. And if it is working, whether they are secure or not. Okay. So all these things we'll be doing in the demo. So without any further delay, I will be jumping into the demo. I hope I was not so fast. If you guys have anything in between, you can stop me at any point of time. Okay, so first let's go ahead and deploy our Istio version. Okay, default one. So for that, Istio CTL install. That's it. That I'll do. That's the default. It will install all the required thing. It will install the default profile, which will have Istio core, Istio D, and ingress gateways. So I'll just press yes, and it will install. It will not take much time. Within the few minutes or within 1 or 2 minutes, it will be completed. So let's wait for that. Meanwhile, what I'll show few services. So in the interest of time, I will not type it here. So that's why I made it ready already. So we have one app gateway. This one we'll be using to connect to Ingress so that we will be able to access the applications which we deploy from the outside of the cluster. Okay, we'll be deploying one version here, sidecar version, which will have 3 microservices. Okay, and we will be accessing dashboard. Dashboard connects to account and profile service, and then it gets the data from there and displays. Okay, this is virtual service for that. Then we have ambient one. Ambient one is having 2 deployments, eco server 1, eco server 2, and we'll be trying to access this one as well via same ingress. Okay, so let's see if we are ready. Yeah, it is installed. So let's create this sidecar. Let me check if we have already sidecar or not. Okay, we have already namespace. So if I deploy already this one, then we'll create sidecar namespace and it will enable as well. So let's go ahead and deploy that. Okay, I need to open terminal here. CTL. Right? I'm applying everything at once so that we'll have everything ready. So it will be sidecar. So it will apply all this account surveys, then it will apply these 3 services, and then it will apply these virtual service as well, which will be linked to our ingress, this one basically. So let me deploy that as well. kubectl apply app gateway. Okay, so this one we saw already. It's nothing but a gateway, Istio gateway, which we are listening on port 80, and this virtual service will be taking the request and it will forward to dashboard. So if we access dashboard, that we should be able to access the application of the dashboard. Let's try that quickly. For that, we need IP or URL. So this deployment is currently happening in EKS, but the same thing can be tried out or can be like utilized at any cloud provider, or like be it AKS, GKE, anywhere it will work. kubectl get svc Istio system. Okay, so as it is EKS AWS, it will give not IP, it will give some URLs that we can use here. Let me paste it quickly. And it was dashboard, that one we saw here. We are listening on that dashboard. So we should give that, and it takes an ID. So that ID I'll give and equal to some name, some number. So we should be getting that that information here. So okay. So now it got from profile. We can verify that it is getting this information from profile pod, and this information is coming from the account pod. So let's verify that quickly. kubectl get pods sidecar. So we can see we are having this dashboard, account, and profile. So we can verify this pod ID here with whatever we are seeing on the screen. It should be matching. Okay, it's matching here also and here. Fine. So it's working. We have now set it up Istio in a default mode. Okay. Now we'll be trying to upgrade it to ambient mode, and we'll still try to access or make it work the older version as it is, and we'll try to deploy a new microservice which will be part of the ambient mesh. Okay. So let's go ahead and upgrade that. So for upgrading the Istio to default Istio to ambient thing, we need to fire this command Istio ctl upgrade. Okay, then we need to set what is the profile, that profile whatever we use, that was default profile. Now we need to use ambient profile, ambient, and then as we are using ingress, so by default when we deploy this one, ingress will not be deployed, and we have already deployed ingress, that will be removed. So for that, to maintain that and to still have that ingress access, we need to set this one so that ingress is not removed and ingress still present. So for that, we need to, 1 minute, I think it's not visible clearly here. I'll keep some down. Istio ctl create set profile ambient. Then we need to set components of ingress, like ingress should also be installed, so that's why I'm mentioning here components dot ingress gateways dot enabled is equal to true, and then we need to give the name, so that also I'll give components ingress gateways 0 dot name is equal to the default name Istio ingress gateway. Fine. Now I can fire this command. It will upgrade to ambient mode. Okay, so we can see it will install, like upgrade to Istio core, Istio D. It will be still there. CNI, ztunnel, and ingress gateway will be there. So let's wait a couple of minutes. It should not take much time. So as we are upgrading, and that HTOD and all will be having its own new version. So for that older thing to work, what we need to do, we need to restart the deployments earlier so that it gets new certificates and all. To avoid any kind of misconfiguration or miss certificate here and there, we need to restart the older deployments, which is having sidecar versions in it. Okay, so we'll just restart it, and then we will be trying to access the older application still. Okay, so let's wait. Let's check what's happening here. CTO. Okay, so this new one is in pending state. Let me check why. Maybe resource kubectl. Your system. Okay, it is having insufficient CPU, so I need to kill. Okay, let me check what else it is having. CTL. get ns. Oh, okay. It is having one ingress nginx. That's why it is eating up that memory. Just 1 minute. Let me quickly remove that. Now let's check if we get the space back. Okay, still pending. Let it. Okay, meanwhile, what we can do, I can explain the application currently. So as we know, we have these 3 microservices which got deployed into sidecar, and we can see that this deployment is listening on port 80. Okay, and internally it is coded that once it gets the request, it requests profile service and it requests account service to get the information that we saw already, like it is able to get that information. We'll try to deploy this ambient one once this version is ready or mode is ready, and we'll see that ambient mesh in action. Okay, now it is there up and running HTOD. Okay, so now I had said like we need to just restart the existing things, so that I'll do kubectl restart deployment in that sidecar. Okay, and we need not to do anything else, just I restart it so that it syncs with the new version. Okay, upgraded version, and still we should be able to access our old application. So let's go here and try to refresh the page. We should be able to get that information still. Okay, I can change the ID to make sure okay it is working. Okay, so now it is able to get the information, new information. So we can change the IDs here. 5, we should be able to get different information. Okay, 7. So it means whatever we had deployed earlier, now it is working still. Okay, and that we can see as well, like it will have that sidecar still with it. So let's check that kubectl get pods sidecar. Okay, so we can see here we are having still this one. 2 to 2 of 2 to 2 of 2. It's already there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and deploy ambient version. So kubectl, and I've already applied the label that we'll discuss, which is needed by this is this one. We need to label that namespace with this istio.io/dataplane-mode.ambient ambient, so that it is part of the ambient mesh. So to make it really quick, I'll just apply ambient, not here, sorry, bad, from here, kubectl apply from ambient. Okay, so once it gets applied, we should be able to access those endpoints now via same ingress, but we are having different endpoints here. So echo1 and echo2, we have two microservices running here. That's we should be able to access now. So let's go ahead in the browser and then try to access those. Let me open another one. I'm just pasting here. and I am giving echo 1. Okay, so now I'm getting this information from this first deployment echo 1. Okay, we'll try to access now from one namespace to another one, and we'll try to see if the communication is still encrypted or not. Okay, for that we'll be trying to log ztunnel logs to see if the communication is encrypted or it is plain text. Okay, so for that, what I'll do, kubectl. So kubectl logs. If I follow just logs, and then I'll be based on the label, I'll be doing the logging so that I get all the logs from all the ztunnel. So app is equal to ztunnel. Okay, we'll start getting logs here. Okay, not in, sorry, non-defaulting space, it's Istio system. Okay, we are seeing the logs. Now I'll try to fire the request from one microservice or which was part of the default sidecar version to the sidecar-less version. Okay, so let me go there. I'll try to open another tab here. Okay, kubectl, get ports, sidecar. So I'll be entering into the sleep one. It is part of sidecar, so I'll write sidecar. Okay, and I'm just doing sh. Okay, so now I got the terminal here, and I'm currently entering into one of the port, which is part of the sidecar, like older mode. Okay, now I'll try to access from fire the request from here to the ambient version, and the endpoint for that is service one. Let's check into the code. So we have echo service one. Okay, this one. So I'll be firing to this request. So curl dot ambient we have. I'm firing and hit enter. Okay, so I'm able to access that one. It was part of the ambient, and here we got the response from here. Let's see the log. So here we can see it is having spiffy ID and all, and it is proxy inbound, and it is not telling that it is plain text. Okay, so this makes sure, okay, like our communication is encrypted. Even if you want to dig deeper, we can go check TCP dump of the ztunnel, and we should be able to clearly see that it is encrypted. But yeah, from here, if we get the ztunnel, if the ztunnel gets a plain text information, here it writes, okay, that the request is plain text. That we can verify. Like I can deploy even one application which is not part of the IMESH, and we can try to find the request. Okay, so here we can see it is still the communication is up and everything is working, and the communications are still encrypted between those. I can even fire the opposite, like from ambient version to the sidecar version. Sidecar. Okay, so let me exit from here. Okay, let me again go down so that we get the fresh log. Kubectl get ports. Now ambient I'm doing. So I'll log in here. Kubectl exec. Okay, now I'll try to fire that dashboard one. Okay, so it will have dashboard, and then it is part of sidecar, and it is having in point as dashboard, and it takes ID is equal to something for whatever I give. So if everything is fine, we should be able to get the request. Okay, we are getting. Okay, and here we can verify those communications going via HBone. Okay, so HBone is a protocol. It's a overlay protocol which is used between ztunnel mostly, but in one point, like the newest version or the 1.16 onwards, it is the HBone protocol is supported by our sidecar so that it is backward compatible and they understand. So that's where we are able to communicate vice versa, like from sidecar version to ambient version and from ambient version to sidecar version. So, and both everything is encrypted. We need not to worry about anything about that. Okay. So that's the thing. We verified, we tested, and everything seems to be up and running. That's all for today's session. If you have any question at any point of time, feel free to contact us at contact@imesh.ai. Thank you.